They text you when they realize you don't care anymore. You know what's funny? People who once ignored you suddenly remember your existence the moment you stop caring. They feel your silence like a punch. And when they text you again, it's not love, not interest, it's control slipping out of their hands. You see, something shifts the moment your energy pulls back. The second you detach, the second you stop overthinking their messages, stop waiting for their validation, stop reshaping yourself to be chosen, that's when they feel the loss. Not because they realized your worth, but because they realized they can't use your emotions the way they used to. Your silence becomes this uncomfortable mirror, reflecting every moment they took you for granted. It reminds them of how confidently they assumed you would always be there, always responding instantly, always caring more than they did. People don't miss you when you're gone. They miss you when you stop giving them the version of you that made their life easier. And that's exactly what happens when you stop caring. When you stop caring, you stop feeding their ego with instant replies, long explanations, emotional reactions. You stop rewarding their inconsistency. You stop dancing around their moods. You stop letting them use your kindness as an emotional charging station. Suddenly the power shifts, the imbalance is gone, and they can feel it, even if they'd never admit it. That's why their sudden text isn't a sign of change. It's a sign of discomfort, because the moment a person senses that they're losing influence over you, that their usual tricks don't work anymore, that their absence no longer affects you, they start to panic internally. They come back with a casual "hey" or "how have you been?" acting like nothing happened, but the truth is, something did happen. You changed, and that's what unsettles them. They don't return because they've grown. They return because their control has shrunk. Your emotional detachment becomes the one thing they didn't expect, and definitely the one thing they can't handle. Someone who used to drain you of your peace suddenly realizes they no longer have access to the emotional reactions that made them feel important, and that scares them, because losing control over someone who once deeply cared is a type of ego death. That's why your replies matter now more than ever, not to win them back, but to protect your power. And the most brutal part, you don't have to raise your voice, prove your worth, or fight for clarity. You just have to stay calm, controlled and detached, something they never expected from you, because when you stop caring, you stop being theirs. And that's exactly why they text again. So today we're going to expose the top 5 brutal replies that silently destroy their power, without yelling, without begging, without chasing. Dear friends, watch this video till the end, you'll get the clarity you've been needing, so make sure to stay with me. For more raw, honest breakdowns like this, don't forget to subscribe. The first thing to understand is what happens when they text you to manipulate. Once they realize you no longer care, avoidants often send messages designed to pull you into their emotional games, guilt you or provoke a reaction that restores their sense of control. These texts are rarely about love or concern, they are about maintaining power over your emotions and seeing if they can still trigger you. Some common examples you might receive include, "Why are you ignoring me? I'm hurt. I thought you cared more than this. I'm only saying this for your own good. You're acting so cold. I don't understand." Or "Why do you make this so difficult?" The purpose behind these messages is clear. They are trying to create a playground where your reactions feed their control. They want you defensive, apologetic or reactive, because your emotional energy is the currency they thrive on, that stops their control. The most effective way to respond is with a calm, short and neutral reply. Simple words like "noted," "I hear you" or "understood" can instantly remove the leverage they try to gain. These responses subtly communicate disinterest in playing their emotional games and show that you are not available for manipulation. You are choosing to remain calm, composed and emotionally independent, and you are not feeding into their expected patterns. This approach has a powerful effect on avoidance. They expect that when they pull their usual tricks, you will react predictably, defend yourself, or engage in a discussion that allows them to regain control. When you respond calmly with short, neutral statements, it disrupts their expectations and weakens their push-pull tactics. They begin to realize that their usual attempts no longer work, and their sense of power starts to fade. By refusing to participate, you break the cycle they depend on. At the same time, this protects you. By remaining neutral, you avoid being drawn into guilt trips, drama or emotional blackmail. Your boundaries stay strong, and you maintain control over your own reactions. The calm, short response acts as a shield. ensuring that their chaos doesn't spill over onto you. You remain grounded, emotionally independent, and unaffected by their manipulative energy. Consistency is crucial. Every time they attempt to provoke guilt or create drama, responding with the same neutral, calm approach removes their emotional playground entirely. Over time, this sends a clear, silent message: you are no longer participating in their games, and they no longer have control over your emotions. It subtly shifts the balance of power in your favor, breaking the control they once held without confrontation, begging, or chasing. Simple phrases like "noted" or "I hear you" may seem small, but they are immensely powerful. They prevent the avoidant from accessing the emotional leverage they depend on, strengthen your emotional independence, and quietly dismantle their manipulative behavior. This method allows you to protect your energy, maintain your boundaries, and stop giving them the reactions they live for, ultimately putting the control back where it belongs, with you. The second thing to understand is how to remove their emotional playground once they try to pull you into drama or guilt trips after realizing you no longer care. Avoidants often send messages that exaggerate situations, provoke guilt, or try to manipulate your emotions so that you react in a way that reinforces their sense of control. These texts are designed to create chaos, curiosity, or worry, not genuine connection. Some common examples might look like, "I can't believe you'd just leave me like this. I'm really hurt that you don't seem to notice me. I'm only pointing this out because I care. You're so distant, don't you even care?" Or even, "I thought we had something real, but clearly I was wrong." The purpose behind these messages is clear. They want to create an emotional playground where your reactions feed their control. They rely on you engaging emotionally, defending yourself, or apologizing to feel a sense of power. The most effective way to neutralize this is with a calm, simple, and neutral reply. Something as short and composed as "I hear you" works exceptionally well. Unlike long responses or emotional defenses, this reply does not feed into the drama. It subtly communicates that you are aware of what they are saying but are not going to participate in their games. It removes the opportunity for them to manipulate your emotions because you are not giving them the reactions they seek. This type of response affects avoidance in a very specific way. When they realize that you are no longer responding predictably to their guilt trips, exaggerated messages, or subtle manipulation, their control begins to diminish. They start to sense that their usual tactics, emotional dramatics, or playing on your concern are no longer effective. By keeping your responses neutral and brief, you remove the playground where they thrive. At the same time, this method protects your emotional energy. By refusing to engage in their drama, you maintain your boundaries and avoid becoming caught in unnecessary arguments or feelings of guilt. Their attempts to provoke a reaction or manipulate your behavior will slowly lose impact because you are no longer giving them the expected leverage. You remain calm, composed, and independent, which disrupts the patterns they are used to exploiting. Consistency is key. Each time they attempt to guilt you or create drama, whether through texts like "Why don't you care about me?" or "I'm only doing this because I love you," your neutral and composed reply, such as "I hear you," signals that you are no longer participating in their games. Over time, this diminishes their ability to control or provoke you. Even though it seems simple, these short, neutral replies are extremely powerful. They strip away the emotional playground the avoidant relies on and subtly force them to confront the fact that their manipulative attempts no longer work. Your calm, consistent detachment reinforces your boundaries, strengthens your independence, and quietly shifts the balance of power back to you. The third thing to understand is how to shift attention back to yourself when avoidants text to inflate their ego or draw attention to themselves after realizing you don't care anymore. Often their messages are crafted to make you respond, admire, or validate them, anything that reinforces their sense of importance while subtly drawing your energy away from yourself. These messages are not about genuine concern or connection, they are about regaining focus on them and keeping you emotionally tethered. You might notice messages such as "Did you see what I posted today? Everyone was impressed. I had the most amazing day. Wish you were there. You never notice when I do something for you," or "I just handled something huge and I thought you'd care." These are attempts to capture your attention, make you engage with their achievements, or create subtle pressure to respond in a way that validates their ego. Another example could be, "I thought you'd text me first like always," or people keep asking me about us, don't you notice? In every case the goal is the same, to pull your focus back onto them, hoping you will react and feed their emotional pull. The most effective way to handle these texts is to calmly and assertively redirect the focus to yourself. A short, composed reply like "I'm focusing on myself now" is enough. It communicates that your priorities have shifted and that your attention is no longer up for grabs. You are not engaging in their ego-boosting tactics, nor are you validating the behavior they are relying on to regain control over your reactions. This response sets a clear boundary while remaining neutral and non-confrontational. This approach has a strong effect on avoidants. When they realize that their usual methods of demanding attention, seeking validation, or subtly provoking jealousy are ineffective, their attempts to dominate the emotional space start to weaken. They begin to understand that their actions no longer automatically elicit the reactions they expect. By maintaining a calm and focused stance on your own priorities, you remove the leverage they depend on to manipulate your energy. Additionally, this strategy protects your emotional health. By consistently redirecting the focus back to yourself, you prevent yourself from being drawn into their need for attention or validation. It reinforces your independence and helps maintain clarity about your emotional boundaries. You are no longer available to be pulled into their ego-driven games or subtle manipulations. Consider common text patterns again. "Look at what I did today, I had a crazy experience, wish you noticed," or "You're not acknowledging me like you used to." A simple response like "I'm focusing on myself now," neutral. The fourth thing to understand is how to acknowledge without engaging when avoidants text with casual pseudo-caring messages. Often these texts are designed to appear thoughtful or considerate, but in reality they are subtle attempts to maintain a connection without offering genuine intimacy. They rely on small gestures or half-hearted communication to keep you emotionally tied while leaving you uncertain about their real intentions. Common messages you might receive include: "Just checking if you're okay, thought you'd like to know, I remembered something you might want," or "Hope everything's fine with you." These messages may seem harmless or even considerate on the surface, but the underlying purpose is often to create an illusion of care. Another example could be: "Just wanted to update you," or "You might find this useful." While they seem friendly or informative, the real goal is to subtly engage your attention without committing to real connection. The most effective way to respond is to keep your reply short, neutral and non-inviting. A simple response such as "Okay, thanks for letting me know" achieves this perfectly. It acknowledges the message politely, maintaining courtesy, but does not give them any emotional energy to feed off. You are communicating awareness without opening the door to manipulation, drama, or emotional pull. This approach has a powerful effect on avoidants. They often rely on small, seemingly insignificant messages to gauge your interest, provoke a reaction, or maintain their sense of control. By replying in a calm, neutral manner, you remove the reward they seek. They no longer have the emotional foothold that encourages repeated attempts to pull you in. Their subtle games become ineffective because you refuse to provide a reaction that validates their pseudo-caring behavior. Additionally, this technique protects your emotional boundaries. By acknowledging without engaging, you avoid being drawn into unnecessary explanations, reassurances, or validation. You maintain distance and independence, showing that you can recognize their attempts at control without falling into their emotional traps. Your calm neutrality becomes a shield against their manipulative tactics. Consider common patterns again: "Thought you'd like this, just a heads up," "I was thinking about you, hope it helps," or "I wanted to share this with you." In each case your reply remains concise and composed: "Okay, thanks for letting me know." This neutral response effectively dissolves their subtle attempts to create dependency or elicit attention. It politely sets a boundary while refusing to feed their games. Over time, consistently applying this response erodes their sense of influence. They may continue sending casual messages, but your steady neutrality communicates that you are not an easy target for their emotional control. You retain autonomy, protect your energy, and quietly dismantle the illusion of control they rely on. This simple, polite acknowledgement is deceptively powerful, breaking their cycle while maintaining your composure, boundaries, and emotional freedom. The fifth and final step to completely dismantle avoidant control is understanding that silence itself can be your most powerful response. Sometimes the most brutal reply isn't a text at all, it's the absence of one. Avoidants are accustomed to emotional reactions, explanations, or defensive messages. They rely on your responses to maintain a sense of power, predictability, and influence. When you stop giving them that, their carefully constructed control begins to crumble. Imagine this scenario: they send a message like, "I don't understand why you're so distant," or "Why aren't you replying? I'm worried about you." Another example could be, "I thought we were close, are you upset with me?" Or "I was just checking in, why the coldness?" These texts may appear innocent or even caring, but the purpose is consistent: to provoke a response that feeds their emotional power. They want reassurance, engagement, or validation, even in subtle forms. They're testing if they still hold sway over your attention and emotions. The most effective way to respond to this behavior is sometimes not to respond at all. Silence communicates a message far more powerful than words: that you are no longer participating in their games. By intentionally withholding a reply, you demonstrate emotional independence and remove the emotional playground they depend on. Your lack of reaction shows that their manipulation is ineffective and that your boundaries are strong. This approach has an immediate psychological effect on avoidance. Silence creates uncertainty, which is the opposite of what they want. They thrive on predictability and emotional leverage. When they expect a reaction and receive none, it destabilizes their usual power dynamics. They may initially feel confused, frustrated, or even a subtle anxiety, but that discomfort belongs to them. It is a clear indicator that their grip is slipping. Silence also protects you. It prevents you from falling into arguments, explanations, or justification traps that are often the result of their manipulative messaging. When you resist the urge to respond, you conserve your emotional energy, maintain composure, and stay centered. This is particularly effective when they attempt guilt-tripping messages like, "I thought you cared about me," or "I don't know why you're so cold lately." Your lack of engagement prevents these tactics from working. The power of silence grows with consistency. Each time they send a message designed to provoke, your choice not to reply quietly reinforces your independence. They begin to recognize that their usual triggers, pleas for attention, guilt trips, or subtle manipulation, no longer produce the desired effect. Over time, this erodes their confidence in their ability to control your emotions. Ultimately, using silence as a weapon is about reclaiming your emotional space. It communicates strength, self-respect, and the refusal to participate in their games. You are no longer a pawn in their push-pull dynamics. The absence of response becomes a subtle, yet profoundly effective message: you are free, unmanipulated, and in control of your emotional world. Silence in this sense isn't passive, it's one of the most assertive and powerful tools you have against manipulative avoidance. Dear friends, as we wrap up, remember that recognizing these patterns is only the first step. Awareness gives you the power to choose how you respond, and that choice shapes your emotional freedom. You don't have to engage in every message, explain yourself, or justify your boundaries. Your time, energy, and feelings are yours to protect. Whenever someone tries to pull you into drama, guilt, or manipulation, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, do I want to give my energy here, or do I want to stay calm and centered? Sometimes the most empowering action is simply a neutral reply, and sometimes it's silence. Both communicate strength without the need for confrontation. Focus on yourself. Prioritize your emotional well-being, your goals, and your peace of mind. Invest in people who show consistency, care, and respect, not in those who only appear when it's convenient for them. Your attention is valuable. Choose carefully where it goes. Set clear boundaries and honor them. It's okay to walk away from conversations, relationships, or situations that drain you or leave you feeling uncertain. Protecting your emotional space isn't selfish, it's necessary. And finally, trust your instincts. If something feels manipulative, conditional, or draining, listen to that feeling. Respond with calm, measured steps that maintain your power and dignity. You don't need to teach anyone a lesson. They will realize the boundaries naturally when you stop participating in their games. Keep this in mind as you move forward. Your peace, clarity, and self-respect are non-negotiable. Let your actions reflect that.